This is LSAT PrepTest 155, Section 3, Passage 2, about international water law and climate change. This is a medium difficulty passage because the structure is straightforward, but students, I find, consistently misread how the author feels about the main document discussed here, and that's what costs you points. This is a yes, but passage. The author thinks that the UN's draft articles on international water courses are a solid effort, but they've got a blind spot. And the entire passage is a slow zoom into that blind spot. Paragraph 1 is just background. You don't want to spend energy here. Water is replacing oil as the resource countries fight over. Rivers cross borders, and so nations need legal tools to manage shared water. The ILC steps in to build a treaty framework. That's it. This paragraph exists to answer one question. Why do the draft articles exist? Once you've got that, you move on. Now, paragraph 2 tells you what's actually in the document. The draft articles take existing customs in international water law and try to write them down as guidelines. Now, 3 big principles show up here. Don't harm other nations with your water use, share equitably, and protect ecosystems. You've got to know these principles exist because the criticism later depends on what the draft articles do and do not cover. But this is still just description. The author is not yet taking a position, so you want to keep a steady pace here. Now, paragraph 3 is where you slow down. This is the paragraph that controls the hardest questions in this set, and it opens with a half compliment. The draft articles are a significant step forward, but before that sentence even finishes, the word inadequate lands. Everything after that is the author's real argument. The problem is climate change. Rising CO2 means greenhouse warming. And that means some rivers get more water than snowmelt. Others lose water from reduced rainfall. The draft articles were not designed for a world where river flows could swing dramatically in either direction. They were built for stability. And stability is exactly what climate change takes away. Now, here is the key move. The draft articles push for fixed water allocations based on how much each country currently uses. But if the river shrinks, those fixed numbers don't shrink with it. So the countries already using the most water keep their full share while everyone else gets squeezed. That is the unfairness at the center of this passage. And if you miss that connection between fixed allocations and changing flows, the hardest questions become total guesswork and you're going to be lost. Now, paragraph 4 is where the author offers fixes, and you don't want to skim this part. Students will tend to rush through solutions because they feel like a wrap-up, but they're not. There are 2 specific proposals that show up here. First, use proportional shares instead of fixed amounts. So if the river drops by 30%, everyone's share drops by 30%. Second, you want to build contingency plans into the treaties that deal specifically with climate scenarios. And these are different ideas. Proportional shares handle general fluctuation. Contingency plans handle specific crises. The questions here can and probably will ask you to tell them apart. Now, the passage follows a narrowing funnel here. Paragraph 1 is global. Water problems everywhere. Paragraph 2 narrows to one document. Paragraph 3 narrows to one flaw in that document. Paragraph 4 narrows further to specific fixes for that flaw. So every paragraph here is getting tighter than the one before it. Now, the author's stance here is supportive but critical. They think international water cooperation matters, and they think the draft articles are a real step forward. But they think the articles are too rigid to survive what the climate change is going to do to river systems. That criticism is specific and limited. It's not a total rejection. And that is exactly where the trap is. If you come away thinking the author is against the draft articles, you're going to grab a main point answer that's too harsh. Something like argues the articles should be abandoned or contends that the ILC's approach is fundamentally misguided. Those are going to be wrong. The right answer will use softer language. Think like ID's a shortcoming or proposes modifications, because the author wants to fix the document, not throw it out altogether. Now, before you hit the questions, you want to check yourself on 3 things. First, can you explain why fixed allocations become unfair when river flows drop? 2, can you name both solutions the author proposes and say how they are different? And third, do you know exactly where in the passage the author shifts from describing the draft articles to criticizing them? If you can nail those 3, you're going to do fine.